Eddie, it's a pleasure to talk to you about this role. I flew in this morning, went straight to the screening, and it did match the expectations I've been hearing. Was it a daunting project for you in the beginning? It's such a mammoth role.
It was, yeah. I mean, I read the script and I thought I was going to be reading a biopic of Stephen's life, and I read this extraordinary, complicated, but delicate relationship piece, a piece about love, but about two formidable people. And when I knew James Marsh was directing it, I'd seen and loved Man on Wire, and the idea of those two things colliding was extraordinary. So I sort of did that thing of applying for a job, you know, really chasing it hard, trying to persuade people that you know exactly what you're talking about, and in order to try and get the job. And then you get the job, or in this case I was lucky enough to get the job, and then you have the crushing anxiety of actually having to do it, you know. So yeah, daunting it was incredibly daunting.
Yeah, absolutely. And this movie is about the life of someone who thinks he doesn't have much of a life to live. It's about, you know, a body that's decomposing, but a mind that's more alive than many people we know, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that was always the thing that I found quite, was a sort of extraordinary sense in that as his body stops working, his mind sort of starts embarking on new frontiers. There was a but also what was formidable for me was that Stephen just kept finding the optimism. He's someone that says, for example, when he was unable to communicate so well, that meant he didn't have to give so many lectures at Cambridge, which meant he had more time to work on his own work. That when he stopped being able to write, to work out use formulas for working things out, he had to create an entire new way of working by visualizing in his mind. And you know, he'll always find the positive, and for me that was very admirable.
The body language obviously was very important to the performance, especially with the performance with Felicity Jones. So how did you work on that, and how carefully did you choose every move?
Well, the day after I was cast, I went to a motor neuron disease clinic in London and started sort of educating myself on the disease, working with a specialist there, a few specialists, and they introduced me to people suffering from the disease, to see the physical cost of the disease, but also the emotional cost on families. And we went to some of their homes. But as you pointed out, what was really important was that Felicity and I then started working together, because it's like a dance. As Stephen becomes more dependent physically on Jane, how those two people work with each other. It's when you see in some of the documentaries, there's a moment when Stephen's in a garden in one of the wheelchairs and his head falls, and without even looking, Jane gently plays. You know, the sixth sense quality that she had to have, and James, our director, wanted us to be able to improvise around that, and so we did a lot of working together to try and make that work.
Did he see it? What did he think?
Stephen has seen the film, and he's been very kind. The loveliest thing was when we made the film, Stephen owns the copyright to his own voice, the iconic voice, and so when
recognizable.
It's so recognizable. And so when we made the film, we had made our own sort of synthesized version of his voice, which we used when we were filming, and then after seeing the film, he offered us his voice, and for me that was the most wonderful thing. It was a really special thing.
But it was also a slowly but surely building career as well, role after role. Did you feel that there was one that was a turning point? Was it My Week with Marilyn?
It's interesting. For me, probably it was a play, actually. It was doing a play on Broadway called Red, play with Alfred Molina about Mark Rothko, the artist, and something about Broadway. If a play does well there, then there's a lot of people come and see it, and it was a very special time in my life. For work-wise, I just was so passionate about it, and that was probably, and it was through that I got Marilyn, and then so that was probably the time. And then
Les Mis, which was another challenge,
yes.
And you know, so far from theory of everything that if you had chosen them to be completely on the other side of the spectrum,
they were different. They both came with their challenges, though. I'll tell you that.
So, what do you love most about acting? What brings out that passion that you just mentioned?
I love not knowing what's next, and by that I mean going, for this film I got to immerse myself. I had the amazing experience of meeting Stephen Hawking, of meeting these extraordinary people who are, you know, incredibly inspiring people who are confronting this vicious disease head on, getting to work with, you know, getting to educate myself on the science, getting to go back to Cambridge. I mean, with that, but that again was so different from Les Mis, in which I was training my voice to be able to sustain. I love never knowing what your next set of the next world you're going to plunge into. Is that keeps me on my toes and
That's true.
excited.
Is Cambridge filled with stories about genius people who were there? Stephen being one of them.
I think there are a few. There are sort of endless rumours of that's the tree where the apple fell for Newton. That's you always hear those stories when you're there. But it is a place that's imbued with history, and it's a very special place.
Yeah, it's true. Do you remember your first idea of when you wanted to be an actor? Was it quite young? What prompted it?
What was I doing? I loved doing it as a kid, like as in just in school plays, and then I got cast in a production of Oliver, and it was around the corner from here in the London Palladium, huge theatre here, and I was playing like workhouse boy number 40 something, and I got to leave school to go in the afternoons to go and do the play, and I just got to run around this rabbit warren of corridors and then go on stage and have time in my life. I was like, this is the life. This is what I'm talking about. So that was probably where I started.
Yeah, there are often moments in struggling actors' lives where they think, okay, no, I made the wrong choice. It's not going to happen for me. Did it ever happen to you, or was it always on a positive note of it's going somewhere?
No, there were definitely low moments. I did my fair share of working in pubs, working as a waiter, but that being said, I've been pretty lucky and worked relatively consistently. So I feel like I've had a good run of it, but there are always moments. Also, the weird thing is with this trade, although you're so lucky to be doing something you're passionate about, it's quite a nomadic life. And it can cause chaos on your family and your friends, and so there are times when you go, wait, did I make the right decision? For bigger reasons rather than just whether you're employed or not.
Yeah, it's true. Finally, you've worked with many actors and directors that are of very, very high caliber. Who's your favorite, or people you'd like to, work with again?
God, who would I like to work with again? That's a great... Well, I'm pleased you asked who you'd like to work with again, because that's often the thing. I've been really lucky to work with people, but at some point when I was too young to be able to... I would love to work with Julianne Moore again. We did a film called Savage Grace.
And you're all going to be on the award circle together, so we'll have the chance to discuss it.
I don't know about that. She's got an amazing instinct. Chloe Moretz, I did a film with... and she's formidable. Who else would I love to work with? Or there are people I would love to work with. Ed Norton. I saw Birdman the other day, and I just thought he was so sensational in that. There's a whole list. I could go on for days.